I'm so glad you're here with us today. We're diving deep into A Course in Miracles, and if you're just joining our community, you might be wondering what this course is all about. I'd love to invite you to check out the very first video on this channel, where I break down exactly what A Course in Miracles is, how it came to exist, and why it's been transforming lives for over 5 decades. It'll give you the perfect foundation for everything we explore together here. Now, let me ask you something that might shake you to your core. What if almost everything you've been taught about earning God's love is completely backwards? What if all those years of trying to be good enough, of pushing yourself harder, of believing that suffering somehow makes you more spiritual? What if all of that has been keeping you further away from the very love you're desperately trying to reach? Here's a question that probably hits uncomfortably close to home. How much of your life have you spent in some form of sacrifice? Maybe it's the way you exhaust yourself trying to please everyone around you, convinced that if you just give enough of yourself away, you'll finally be worthy of love. Perhaps it's how you punish yourself when you make mistakes, believing that self-criticism is somehow a form of spiritual discipline. Or maybe it's that deep, nagging feeling that you have to constantly prove your worth through struggle, through giving up things you enjoy, through making yourself smaller so others can feel bigger. If any of this resonates with you, take a deep breath, because today we're about to completely revolutionize your understanding of what it means to be in right relationship with love, with yourself, and with the divine. We're exploring Chapter 3 of A Course in Miracles, specifically the section called Atonement Without Sacrifice. And yes, you heard that right, without sacrifice. The traditional spiritual path has taught us that atonement requires payment, that healing demands suffering, that redemption costs us something precious. We've been conditioned to believe that the more we sacrifice, our desires, our joy, our authentic selves, the more spiritual we become. But what if this entire paradigm is not just wrong, but is actually the very thing that keeps us trapped in cycles of guilt, unworthiness, and exhaustion? Think about how tired you are. Not just physically tired, but soul-deep weary from constantly trying to earn what the Course teaches is already yours by right. How much energy have you spent trying to make yourself acceptable to a God who has never, not even for one moment, seen you as anything less than perfect? How many hours have you lost to guilt, believing that your mistakes somehow separate you from love? This is exactly why today's exploration matters so profoundly. The Course doesn't just offer us a different approach to spirituality, it offers us complete liberation from the exhausting belief system that keeps us running on a hamster wheel of spiritual performance. We're not here to learn how to sacrifice better or suffer more efficiently. We're here to discover that the very premise of sacrifice-based spirituality is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what love actually is. Throughout our journey today, we're going to dismantle 3 life-changing realizations. First, we'll expose how the ego has convinced us that love operates like a business transaction, where we have to pay for what's already freely given. Then, we'll discover what atonement really means, not as payment for sin, but as the gentle correction of our mistaken beliefs about our own unworthiness. Finally, we'll explore what life actually looks like when you stop trying to earn love and start accepting the radical truth that joy, not suffering, is your natural state. If you've been carrying the weight of spiritual perfectionism, if you've been exhausted by the endless effort to prove your worthiness, if you've been secretly afraid that you haven't suffered enough to deserve God's love, today is your invitation to lay all of that down. The Course offers us something infinitely more beautiful than sacrifice-based spirituality: the recognition that atonement is not about payment, but about remembering what was never actually lost. So release any need to work for what we're about to discover together. Open your heart to the possibility that everything you've been striving for has already been given, and that your only job is to stop blocking its natural flow into your awareness. Are you ready to discover what freedom from sacrifice actually feels like? Let's begin this beautiful journey home to love. Breaking the sacrifice. Myth. Love requires nothing. Let's start by exposing one of the most damaging lies that has ever been told to the human heart, that love must be earned through suffering. Right now, I want you to think about how deeply this belief has infiltrated every area of your life. When you made a mistake as a child, were you taught that you had to make up for it through some form of punishment or extra good behavior? When you hurt someone's feelings, did you believe you had to suffer a little bit yourself to balance the scales? This is the ego's payment system, and it's been running your life from behind the scenes. The ego operates like a cosmic accountant, constantly tallying up debits and credits, convinced that the universe runs on transactions. It whispers, "You messed up, so now you have to pay." You want love? Here's what it's going to cost you. You desire peace? First, prove you deserve it through sacrifice. This transactional approach to love has created more guilt, exhaustion, and spiritual suffering than perhaps any other single belief system. But here's what will shatter this illusion completely. God has never, not even once, required payment for love. Think about this truth for a moment. The source of all love, the very essence of divine perfection, has never looked at you and said, "I'll love you, but first you need to earn it." That entire concept is foreign to the nature of love itself. Love doesn't demand payment, because love is what you are, not what you do. Traditional religion has unfortunately reinforced this sacrifice mentality for centuries. We've been taught that someone had to die for our sins, that suffering is noble, that the more you give up, the more spiritual you become. But the Course reveals something revolutionary. This entire framework is based on the ego's misunderstanding of what sin, suffering, and spirituality actually mean. Here's the difference that changes everything. There's a massive distinction between sacrifice and true giving. Sacrifice is when you give up something you value, believing that loss somehow makes you more worthy. True giving is when you extend what you naturally are, love, kindness, peace, without any sense of loss or depletion. When you truly give, you don't sacrifice anything, because you recognize that love is infinite and sharing it only increases it. Let me give you some examples that might hit uncomfortably close to home. Maybe you're the person who works yourself into exhaustion, believing that overworking is somehow a form of spiritual service. Perhaps you're the one who says yes to everything, even when it drains your soul, convinced that self-sacrifice equals love. Maybe you've been punishing yourself for years over past mistakes, thinking that self-criticism is a form of penance that will eventually earn you forgiveness. All of these patterns stem from the same core misunderstanding, the belief that you are separate from love and must do something to bridge that gap. But what if the gap was never real? What if you've been trying to earn something that was never withheld from you in the first place? The Course teaches us that guilt is what keeps this sacrifice system in place. As long as you believe you're guilty of something, original sin, past mistakes, not being enough, you'll keep trying to pay for crimes you never committed. But guilt is just a story the ego tells to keep you trapped in cycles of seeking love outside yourself, instead of recognizing the love that you are. When you truly understand that love requires nothing from you, something miraculous happens. You stop exhausting yourself through spiritual performance. You stop believing that your worth fluctuates based on your behavior. You begin to recognize that the love you've been desperately trying to earn through sacrifice has been flowing freely toward you every moment of your existence, waiting only for you to stop blocking it with your beliefs about unworthiness. This isn't spiritual bypassing or wishful thinking. This is the foundation of everything that's real, The true nature of atonement, healing. Not payment now that we've shattered the ego's payment system. Let's dive into what atonement actually means and prepare to have your mind completely blown. The word atonement has been so misunderstood, so twisted by guilt-based thinking, that most people hear it and immediately think of debt, punishment, and someone having to pay a terrible price. But what if I told you that the real meaning of atonement has nothing to do with payment and everything to do with remembering? Here's the revolutionary truth. Atonement literally means at-one-ment, the restoration of unity consciousness. It's not about fixing something that's broken or paying for something that's been stolen. It's about correcting a case of mistaken identity. You've been walking around thinking you're separate from love, separate from God, separate from your own divine nature. Atonement is simply the gentle awakening from that dream of separation. Think about it this way. If you had amnesia and forgot who you were, the healing wouldn't involve punishment or payment. It would involve remembering. That's exactly what atonement is, a cosmic case of amnesia being healed. You haven't fallen from grace. You've simply forgotten that you never left home. You're not being restored to God's love. You're remembering that you never departed from it. This is why the Course teaches that atonement is about healing perception, not settling accounts. Every moment of suffering, every experience of guilt, every feeling of unworthiness stems from the same perceptual error, believing that you are something other than love. When your perception is healed, when you see clearly again, all the symptoms of separation, fear, guilt, anger, loneliness, naturally dissolve because their foundation has been removed. Let me share something that might completely shift your understanding of forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't about pardoning someone for what they actually did wrong. Forgiveness is recognizing that what you thought happened, the separation, the attack, the sin, never actually occurred in reality. When you truly forgive, you're not being generous by overlooking someone's guilt. You're seeing past the illusion to the innocence that was always there. This is where guilt begins to lose its grip on you. Guilt only makes sense if you believe there was actually something to be guilty about. But when you understand that separation from love is impossible, that it's literally not something that can happen in reality, then guilt becomes as meaningless as feeling bad about a nightmare you had last night. You don't need to atone for dreams. Here's what makes this so practical and immediate. The Holy Spirit's function is to remind you of what you already are, not to help you become something you're not. Every time you choose peace over conflict, love over fear, unity over separation, you're not earning points towards some future redemption. You're simply remembering your true nature. You're allowing what's always been true to become visible again. The ego wants you to ask, what must I sacrifice to be worthy of atonement? But the real question is, what am I ready to stop believing about myself that keeps me feeling separate from love? The answer is never about doing more, suffering more, or giving up more. It's about releasing the beliefs that block your awareness of the love that's always been flowing toward you. This is why atonement without sacrifice isn't just possible. It's the only kind of atonement that makes any sense. If love is what you are, then returning to love can't require giving up anything real. It can only require releasing what was never true in the first place. When this understanding really sinks in, something beautiful happens. You stop trying to heal yourself and start allowing yourself to be healed. You stop working for redemption and start accepting it. You stop believing that your peace depends on how perfectly you can perform spiritually. And you start recognizing that peace is your natural state when you're not actively choosing conflict. This isn't about becoming someone new. This is about remembering who you've always been. Living. Without the burden, joy as your natural state now, comes the most beautiful part of our journey together. discovering what life actually looks like when you stop trying to earn love and start living from the truth of who you are. Get ready for this, because what I'm about to share with you is going to challenge every assumption you've ever had about what it means to be a good person, a spiritual person, or a worthy person. Here's a truth that might initially shock you. Joy is not selfish. Peace is not lazy. Happiness is not superficial. These aren't consolation prizes you get after you've suffered enough. They are the natural expressions of your true nature when you stop blocking them with sacrifice-based thinking. The ego has convinced us that if we're too happy, we must be doing something wrong, that joy somehow means we're not taking life seriously enough. But what if joy is actually the most accurate indicator that you're aligned with truth? Let me paint a picture of what sacrifice-free living actually looks like. Imagine waking up in the morning without that familiar weight of obligation pressing down on your chest. Instead of immediately thinking about everything you should do to prove your worth today, you simply ask, how can I extend love in this moment? Instead of pushing yourself through activities that drain your soul because you think suffering equals service, you find yourself naturally drawn to expressions of love that energize rather than deplete you. This doesn't mean you become selfish or irresponsible. In fact, the opposite happens. When you stop trying to love from emptiness, when you stop believing that depleting yourself somehow serves others, you become capable of true giving. You start offering the world your authentic gifts rather than your guilt-driven performances. You begin to serve from overflow rather than obligation. Here's where we need to make a crucial distinction that will set you free. There's a massive difference between healthy boundaries and self-sacrifice. Healthy boundaries are about honoring the love that you are by not allowing it to be attacked or diminished. Self-sacrifice is about believing that love requires you to make yourself smaller, less authentic, or more depleted. One protects love, the other betrays it. When you say no to something that doesn't align with your authentic expression of love, you're not being selfish. You're being truthful. When you choose activities that bring you joy instead of forcing yourself through joyless obligations, you're not avoiding responsibility. You're aligning with your true function. When you prioritize your inner peace over external approval, you're not being self-centered. You're recognizing that peace is the greatest gift you can offer the world. This is what innocent perception looks like in practical terms. You begin to see through the ego's lies about what love requires. You stop believing that your worth depends on how much you can endure or how much you can give up. You start recognizing that the very desire for joy, peace, and authentic expression comes from your divine nature, not from some selfish ego impulse. And here's something miraculous that happens. When you stop sacrificing yourself, you give others permission to stop sacrificing themselves too. When you choose joy over guilt, peace over anxiety, authenticity over people-pleasing, you become a living example that there's another way to live. Your freedom from sacrifice mentality doesn't just heal you. It contributes to the healing of everyone around you. Think about the relationships in your life. How many of them are based on transaction? I'll love you if you do this for me, or I'll prove my love by doing this for you. When you truly understand that love is freely given and freely received, your relationships transform from contracts into celebrations. You stop trying to earn love through performance, and you stop expecting others to earn your love through theirs. This is the ripple effect of atonement without sacrifice. It creates a world where love flows naturally because no one believes they have to pay for it anymore. Imagine communities where people serve from joy rather than obligation. Families where love is expressed authentically rather than performed guiltily. Friendships where support comes from abundance rather than debt. You don't have to wait for everyone else to understand this truth before you can live it. Right now, in this moment, You can choose to align with joy instead of sacrifice, with peace instead of struggle, with authentic love instead of guilty obligation. Your natural state isn't suffering, it's celebration. Conclusion: embracing your sacrifice, free spirituality. What an incredible journey we've taken together today. We started by exposing the ego's payment system that has kept us trapped in cycles of earning love through suffering, and we've arrived at something so much more beautiful. The understanding that atonement is not about payment, but about remembering who you've always been. What seemed like spiritual discipline from the ego's perspective has been revealed as spiritual imprisonment, while true freedom comes from recognizing that joy, not sacrifice, is your natural state. The transformation we've explored today isn't just a nice spiritual concept. It's a complete revolution in how you can live your life starting right now. Every moment becomes an opportunity to choose authentic expression over guilty obligation. Every decision becomes a chance to align with joy rather than sacrifice. Every relationship becomes a space for celebration rather than transaction. Here's what I want you to carry with you as you step into this new understanding. You are not broken and in need of fixing through suffering. You are not guilty and awaiting punishment. You are not separate from the love that created you, and you never have been. The atonement isn't something you have to work toward. It's something you can accept right now by simply releasing the beliefs that tell you otherwise. This week, I invite you to become aware of how often your mind defaults to sacrifice thinking. Notice when you're pushing yourself harder because you think suffering equals service. Catch yourself when you're saying yes to things that drain your soul because you believe depletion proves love. When you spot these patterns, gently remind yourself, love requires nothing from me. I am already whole. Joy is my natural state. Ask yourself throughout your days, am I choosing this from love or from obligation? Am I extending my authentic gifts or performing out of guilt? Am I honoring the divine nature within me or betraying it through unnecessary sacrifice? These simple questions can transform every area of your life. If today's exploration has ignited something within you, if you're ready to release the exhausting burden of earning love through suffering, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're creating a community of people who are choosing authentic spirituality over performance-based religion, joy over guilt, and freedom over sacrifice. Your presence in this space contributes to the collective awakening we talked about. I want to hear from you in the comments below. What resonated most deeply with you today? Which sacrifice-based beliefs are you ready to release? How has your understanding of atonement shifted through our time together? Your insights don't just support your own journey. They offer encouragement to others who are taking the same courageous steps toward freedom. If you know someone who's been exhausting themselves trying to earn God's love, who's been trapped in cycles of spiritual perfectionism, or who's been carrying the weight of unnecessary guilt, please share this video with them. Sometimes the most loving gift we can offer is showing someone a door they didn't know existed, the door that leads from sacrifice to celebration. Thank you for bringing your open heart and curious mind to this exploration. Thank you for being willing to question beliefs that may have been with you for decades. Thank you for choosing to see past the ego's lies about what love requires to the beautiful truth of what love actually is. Your courage to embrace sacrifice-free spirituality doesn't just heal you, it heals the world. Remember, atonement without sacrifice isn't a future goal you're working toward. It's a present reality you can step into right now. You don't have to earn what you already are. You don't have to pay for what has always been freely given. You don't have to sacrifice joy to prove your worthiness because your worthiness was never in question. Until tomorrow, keep choosing joy over guilt, authenticity over performance, and love over sacrifice. Keep trusting in the magnificent truth that you are already everything love created you to be. Peace and joy be with you.